Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Dustina. This is Fri Boujee Astrology, and we're going to take a look at the astrological transits of March 23rd to March 29th. I hope you guys are ready for this week. If you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, this is the week for you. We've had so many little things that just shifted gears over the last few days that is now putting us into a different focus and a different arena, per se, and more so, it's more along the lines of we've got a different vibration of energy that starts to really hone in and take shape this week. And if you have been feeling like you've been stuck in a loop about the past, a loop about the wounds, a loop around frustrations, or whatever your loop has been, I'm telling you, the loop is over. The loop is over. Why is the loop over? Because Mercury retrograde is over. Bah! Oh my God. That Mercury retrograde. Let's start with that. I know how to navigate a Mercury retrograde. I am sick and tired of that particular Mercury. All I knew going into it is like the depths of the oceans of emotions are going to find the way to the surface. And boy, howdy, did a lot of things come floating to the top. It's very annoying. But that isn't the only thing that changed in the last few days. No, 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 no. Going into the weekend, we started Aries season. The sun is now in Aries. And as soon as the sun went into Aries, the first thing that it did over the weekend was start a conjunction to Neptune. I didn't really know how that was going to go. And I felt like everybody, of course, was going to be in a different place. For some people, it was showing us some level of a new vibration, a new energy, a new inspiration, something that we believed that we could do. Some of us, we started to have certain chance encounters that just kind of felt too good to be true. For other people, we started doing something a new way, but there was this little hint of nostalgia all the way through it. It's like doing something for yourself for the first time, but really it was something you were taught to do whenever you were a kid. You just didn't do it then. You didn't care about it then. It didn't influence you then. But now it's influenced you quite a bit. And you're like, oh, by doing all of this and going to these places and it kind of reminds me of all those times I got to spend with grandma or grandpa or uncle or auntie or whoever from back in the day. And for some people, there was just a glimmer of a nostalgia element. But for other people, there was a confusion over the weekend. And it really kind of comes down to how you've been dealing with Neptune. Neptune does not like to be clear. It was the first planet that was discovered mathematically. This is my favorite part to use whenever I talk about Neptune. Up until that point, planets had either been discovered by the naked eye or through just general transits in general like that. But after the discovery of Uranus, when Neptune was discovered, it was discovered through mathematics. After the discovery of Uranus, hundreds and hundreds of astronomers went back to the sky looking for the stars that had been missed. Up until that point, they hadn't realized that there were other things out there because it was just kind of a boring vibration. But what they were able to figure out through mathematics is that there was a magnetic pull further out than Uranus. And again, hundreds of astronomers took to the skies looking for the said planet, but they did not find it the way that they thought. They didn't find it through the naked eye. They didn't find it through a telescope because that would have been the previous ways. No, no. Someone had to mathematically calculate where the magnetic pull was coming from before they discovered Neptune. I like to make the joke Neptune didn't want to be found. And as soon as Pluto was discovered, all studies around Neptune pretty well halted for a while because, again, Neptune didn't want to be seen. Neptune has this way of clouding our senses and clouding our judgment. Sometimes that clouding feels like that Tasmanian devil of, I don't know what's going on. The whirlwind is here. But there's no devil to pinpoint. It's just like this stripping feeling of feeling feathers and fur and everything just stripped away. The varnish is gone. But then afterwards, we go into this kind of raw, hindsight able to be 2020 vibration that we couldn't see clearly through that energy. And for some people, the weekend was either confusion, again, inspiration, doing something new while also having this flare of nostalgia to it. There was a fueling. For some people, the fueling was around a new belief, a new pattern of doing something. Now, it doesn't have to be raw, brand new. I have discovered this new religion just over the weekend. No, it could be more along the lines that you've already discovered it or been studying something for a while, been learning about something for a while, but something truly inspired a deeper connection to it over the weekend. All I'm saying is some part of what we're fueled into, what we're seeing, hasn't technically been clear, and it's going to take a while for us to realize that. Just be aware that some of the vibration of what we just connected to can have some caveats later on. That's just a warning. However, we're going to be more focused on this week. And whenever it comes to this week, again, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, babies, this is the week for you. All of April has movement. But before we can get into the movement of April, we need to identify something. We need to arrive at something. We need to see something a little differently. And we need certain things to quite literally reveal themselves, come to light. And by God, this is a heck of a week for it to happen. Because we've got a couple things going on. First and foremost, again, the sun is now in Aries. The sun is in its exaltation. We are now in springtime. The sun does very, very well in Aries. And midway through the week, the sun is going to hit its conjunction to Saturn. Saturn, who does not do well in Aries. And there's going to be certain things that come to light regarding Saturnian objects, Saturnian people in our lives. Now, that can go a couple different ways. Something coming to light in regards to a role, a responsibility, something in regards to people in positions of power, somebody accepting some level of responsibility and feeling very motivated and empowered to do something very quickly. Because again, there's a lot of movement in April. For other people, there's going to be a disruptive discovery around a boss, an authority figure, an elder. Some of you are going to be the disruption. You're going to reveal something to someone. You're going to be the light coming through. You're going to be the judgment coming through. You're going to have something within you that really sets in a motivation. Now, anytime the sun hits a conjunction to Saturn, it is arguably meant to be the most productive week of the year. It is not a sit in one place type of vibration. We feel like we need to get things done. We feel like we need to take responsibility. We feel like we need to push something forward. And this week, we are meant to start to identify something that we need to push forward in our lives. Some of us are going to see other people get thrusted and pushed forward into some kind of new role, into some kind of new responsibility. I'm an Oklahoman. You want to know what I keep thinking of? Is this is a heck of a week for Mark Wade Mullen to get confirmed. Because I know there's layers to it later on because I've seen so much around that man. I know I don't normally talk politics, but this is one that I can't let go of. I've been calling his political career since he started. I've known that this guy was going to go way further than just the state representative. And he keeps just kind of showing me more and more. I'm like, oh, yeah, look at that. Look at that. Yep, that makes sense. That makes sense. Oh, not a lot of you are going to understand that one. There is meant to be an identification, again, of a new role, a new responsibility, and a raw new power dynamic. Because that isn't the only Saturnian thing going on this week. Now we need to talk about the other one. Pluto will go through its exact sextile to Saturn. The sun also, but I'm more focused on the Saturn part because of the areas of the sky that this is going to take place in. And this area of the sky is already going to be supremely highlighted later this year, most specifically between July and August, and even more so in parts of next year. So there's meant to be certain details of things that come to light this week that play big parts and big roles in how we progress throughout the rest of this year. The things that come to light, the roles that we take, the responsibility that is going to be had has a bigger purpose than just, oh, sure, I'll take the kids to school. No, 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 no. You're like taking full responsibility of the kids and the school. It's not just a one day, oh, I can help you out a little bit. No, this is bigger than that. Just be aware. Certain things are meant to come to light and have a specific power dynamic. Now, here's the deal. When it comes to Pluto being the god of death and Saturn, this ruler of rules, laws, boundaries, and karma, that's going to be very, very interesting whenever it comes to the collective, interesting in a curious way, not in a funny ha-ha way. And I do anticipate that there's going to be triggers of insecurity that are going to come through based off of the Pluto Saturn sextile. Now, I feel like some people are going to have little kind of clicks in their internal system this week. There's more than one reason for that. And we're going to get to the other reason here in just a minute. But whenever it comes to Pluto and Saturn together, this is either going to be a huge motivation in regards to your karmic path as to how you progress forward over the next 2 years and what you are changing with the way that you connect to people. And that's based off of the zodiac signs, Pluto and Aquarius, the representation of people, and Saturn being in Aries, this motivated, industrious vibration that it is. There's a lot of motivations that are setting in this week, but they're not as new as they're going to just arrive on Monday. No. And there's a reason for that. Now let's talk about that third little thing that's going on that's really impacting a big portion of the week. Mercury ended its retrograde in a conjunction to the North Node. Now, by minute and degree, they will have 3 conjunctions in total. The third and final one will happen this week. However, there has been this looming, lingering energy of Mercury, the ruler of our logical brain, being conjunct the North Node, the head of the dragon, of things that I will have, I will consume, I desire, I will have control over, dominion over. This is what I want. This is what is necessary. This is what I need. Give me, give me, give me. I'm a greedy baby. We need more of something, but that more has a mental context. Our minds have been focused on something. And a lot of the focus based off of the end of the Mercury retrograde was also what we need to do to fix something about the past, what efforts we take forward from here. And there is this mix in the vibration of we have new things that we've already committed to, that we've already been on track towards, that we've already been on space towards, based off of what happened right before that Mercury retrograde at the start of eclipse season. Many of us made certain commitments, but we also had the emotional trials of what Mercury did and making us aware of things that we had forgotten that had truly been holding us back. And so much of what we start to move forward with now is both an energy towards what we've already committed to, what we've already wanted for the new big long-term dynamic of whatever Saturn and Aries represents for you, as well as what we need to recover certain areas of our life over the next 6 months based off Mercury ending its retrograde in that conjunction to the North Node. A desire, a mental ambition, a plan, an idea, a concept that's stuck up here that we can't let go of. Even if you're doing something else, your mind is on this. You're doing 30 things out of the day. You're doing the mowing, you're doing the cleaning, you're doing the running around, the shopping, the blah, 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 blah. Yet still your mind is on this. Whatever this is different for everybody, but it's this. What is this? What is this? How do I make this work? What do I need to do? And your mind is rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling in regards to a certain thing that must be worked towards. And in many ways, it's going to intertwine with the bigger perspective of the energy, but not all people will have that intertwining from the beginning. Some will, some will. Others are going to have two areas of life that are being focused on simultaneously, some taking more effort and more weight at different times than the other. And then we kind of do the normal trade-off. You don't focus on your relationship all the time. Sometimes you got to focus at work. You don't focus on the work all the time because sometimes you got to focus on your family, that type of thing. Sometimes something on your plate takes a bigger precedence of focus. Whatever the bigger precedence of focus is one element that coincides with a larger other thing that is unfolding simultaneously. We don't just do one thing in our life, so be aware of that. We have a very interesting, motivating, directional level of vibration when it comes to this week. And there is a restlessness that will speak volumes all the way through this week. There's not just one particular day, it's multiple days. Anytime the sun hits a conjunction to Saturn, it's arguably meant to be the most productive week of the year. You can't sit still. Even if you are somebody that prefers to just lay around at home and not do anything, you can't just sit in one spot. Your focus is elsewhere. You can think of 30,000 things that you need to do that you're going to do, because I can't even sleep unless I get them done all of a sudden. Something has to get done. There's a motivation. There's responsibilities. There's a restlessness. And so much of this energy is shedding light on where we are going to be busy all through the month of April. This is just showing us what we're going to focus on. Some of us got an idea already because that Mercury retrograde ending, that happened last week. But we're still starting the week with Mercury's conjunction to the North Node, while the other vibrations are happening simultaneously. So let's take a look at all of it. Okay. Let's get into the charts. We're going to start this off Monday right after midnight. So I got this March 23rd, 12:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And the reason I have that going on is because right after midnight, from midnight to 2 a.m. Central Standard Time, the moon is going to hit this conjunction to Uranus. Something happening unexpectedly, something that's kind of exciting, something that's coming through that kind of, again, makes it a little bit restless, since this is happening in that later evening, overnight hours time frame for us here in the States. This can be a restless energy of like something coming through spontaneously or unplanned that kind of ruffles your feathers a little bit. It kind of gets you looking at other things. Like, it's an interesting perspective, but there can be some things that just don't go to plan or are going to come through rather unexpectedly. Now, this is our very last transit of the moon being in Taurus. And one of the things I described over the weekend from the previous episode is that while this moon was in Taurus and Venus being in Aries, there was a restlessness in the vibration that a lot of us, we want to be comfortable in something, but we also realize again that there is an action that needs to be done for us to feel comfortable. And some of us might just be wrapping up that type of vibration at the end of the weekend, going into Monday. And there's still some level of excitement or unexpectedness, but it ties into elements of the entire weekend, not just like, woo, yeah, we're doing this on Monday. Because in the overnight hours after the moon hits this conjunction to Uranus, the moon's going to go void. And then by 3:19 a.m., oh, I got this at 1 minute. Haha, just kidding. And then by 3:19 a.m., got this now at 3:30, the moon is going to go into Gemini. Now, the moon going into Gemini, the air version of Mercury. So Gemini is an air sign ruled by Mercury. There is a lot of things that need to be discussed. There are a lot of things that are about to come out. There are a lot of ideas. There are a lot of news. There's a lot of communication. There's a lot of plans. There's a lot of focus in a very specific way that needs to be negotiated, that needs to be worked through. Some of us are going to be traveling in some aspect, but it feels very, very timely in how we're being pulled this way. And over the next few days, while the moon is in Gemini, Mercury, again, the ruler of Gemini, is in that conjunction to the North Node. Our head is spinning, our head is spiraled, but it's focused, it's directionally focused, because there's something about whatever happened at the end of that Mercury retrograde, showing us that unfinished business of stuff from the past that we now need to focus on. That there's literally something in the vibration that speaks to, hey, this is how we focus on it. And this is what we need to do to talk it through, to work it through, to negotiate it through. This is the steps that we take to get something unfolded in this area. And there's a lot of mental energy. There's a lot of boisterous energy that starts to unfold right at the beginning of the week. And it is amplified by the moon going into Gemini. All right. So the moon is now in Gemini, and there is a lot of things that start going on after this time period. Now, the one thing that I will say is, like, you can see here's Mercury's conjunction to the North Node. That was also going on during that Moon Uranus conjunction. You can see it's still very active right here. So again, there's something very heavy about our mental energy, the mental pull, our mind spinning and spiraling and racing and overthinking and planning something out and putting something into perspective. Like, there's a very mental energy that is coming through. And as we continue into the overnight hours, into the morning time, there's a lot more going on. And these are all lunar transits from this point forward, just to be clear. Oh, right around sunrise, between 5:30 and 7:30 a.m. I got this right here at 6:30. Neptune, 1 degree, 52 minutes, is going to go through a sextile to the moon. Now, this Neptune and the sun, again, there was some kind of conjunction that happened over the weekend between these two. For some people, that was an inspiration. For some people, that was nostalgic. For some people, that was confusion. There was something that came to light. There was something that came into focus in some way that for some people could have been too good to be true, or it has impacted the direction or inspiration of what we're focused on now. And again, some of us, whatever we got focused on might not have been seen clearly, but Neptune hitting the sextile to the moon gives one element of either the nostalgia, the confusion, the inspiration, the manifestation, direction in the energy. Neptune hitting the sextile to the moon. Some of us are going to be waking up feeling kind of hazy, kind of confused. Is it really Monday? I don't know if it's Monday. I don't even know if I believe that it's Monday, but there can be some areas of haziness in the first part of the morning, but they're not allowed to last for very, very long. For some people, again, Mercury being in that conjunction to the North Node in the overnight hours, some of us are going to be waking up with an idea, with a perspective, with that level of inspiration. And it's like we're doing all of the steps very quickly to talk something out, tell somebody our idea, tell somebody that we want to focus on. And as the day progresses, you can kind of see that pattern kind of unfold as well. Between 7 and 9 a.m., so we got this now at 8:30, the sun, 2 degrees, 55 minutes, will hit its sextile to the sun, or the sun to the moon. This energy right here, where we now have the moon actually visible after the new moon's energy, there's going to be a buildup in the sky towards the full moon that will happen on April 1st. The sun is in its exaltation. It's feeling really empowered. It's feeling really confident. Our energy is a little bit higher. The moon in Mercury's sign, we have something that has just come into focus, a plan that we want to enact, and we're putting more energy and details into it. Some of us, we're hearing the details of someone else. Some of us, we're telling them our plan, our way of doing something, some of the things that we've been putting together in certain ways. As we get into the lunchtime hour between 10 a.m. and noon, so I got this now at 11:30, Saturn, 4 degrees, 30 minutes, is going to hit the sextile to the moon. You can kind of see this here. And simultaneously, while Saturn is going through its sextile, we are also starting a trine with Pluto. So you can kind of see that right here. Some of us, that mental focus is really pulling that directional energy. This little trine / sextile, while Pluto and Saturn are building to their sextile, this is actually not going to go exact until the weekend, by the way. So we're dealing with this buildup all week. But there can be certain kinds of news about, again, a trouble area, a past power dynamic, a responsibility, a role, something that can be very, very triggering for some people. For some people, again, it's a push and a motivation in another way, because we have more and more motivations that are meant to come to light this week. Some will be lighter, some will be heavier. And this really kind of depends on everybody as an individual. For some of you, you have an idea of how you work through a past power struggle, or how you can start to find solutions that, even though there could have been elements of the past, it's like, I have a plan for how I can get that fixed today. from now forward, from this point forward. Not everybody's going to get everything fixed in one day. And given the way the rest of this energy is going to go throughout the week, it's not going to be a one day fix. You might be able to get certain things accomplished in a day, but the full element solution type of vibration, it might not necessarily come through all in one day. So just kind of be aware of that. But if we have some type of triggering, frustrating types of energies that happen right around lunchtime, that literally has to do with the fact that Pluto and Saturn are perfecting their sextile, and the moon is going to come in and kind of aspect both of them simultaneously. You can see this right here. We're going to feel this the most exact basically between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. So just kind of be aware if there's parts of Monday that are, again, frustrating, infuriating in that direction, or if there's something about a role or responsibility, a power shift of sorts, that can also be a part of this too, or a responsibility shift of sorts. And some of us are just going to have something going on with our elders. I'm not hoping for that in any way. I don't need another ER visit. I'm tired of them. But just be aware there can be those things, especially whenever it comes to elders. Now, as we get into the evening time, we have one more transit that's going on. This is going to go the most exact between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m. So I got this now at 6:30. And what's going to happen is Mercury, again, newly direct, still in this conjunction to the North Node, been here for about a week now, but again, is now direct, is going to hit a square to the moon. Now, there's a little bit of trifecta energy going on right here. The moon is in Mercury sign, Mercury is in Jupiter sign, and Jupiter's in the moon sign. So we have this energy of just like, a couple areas of our chart that can be working together, but they're working through the plans, the conditions, the terms, the conversations of what we're trying to put forward, where we're wanting to go next. And for a lot of people, this feels like a series of decisions, direction, like literally direction in the sense of like step by step parts of the process. There can be like questioning in regards to certain parts of the communication, certain parts of a plan. Some of us we're just telling somebody else what the plan is, and it's not that they need to do the steps. It's one of those things that we're letting them know what steps are going to be taken in some way. There's that level of dynamic whenever Mercury hits the square to the moon. There can be tensions for some people. I don't feel like this is a very tension heavy energy. If there is tensions, it's not directly because Mercury's square to the moon. It's more along the lines of like this Pluto Saturn stuff is going to be going on all week. And we're getting closer to the sun's conjunction to Saturn, which this doesn't go exact until Wednesday, but it can still speak to like restlessness if we haven't gotten certain things accomplished the way that we wanted. And then certain people kind of voicing like, I expected more out of you. I had higher hopes. Well, don't assume that I'm going to be able to get everything done the way that you want. Sometimes life happens. Anyways, moving on. We're going to get to the 24th. Now, transit wise, there's not as much to the 24th. Our first transit is actually not going to hit until the actual morning time between 7 and 9 a.m. And this is where Mars is going to hit its square to the moon. And I think this is really interesting because Mars is hosting the season. It's Aries season now. Mars is now hosting that. Neptune, the Sun, Saturn, Venus, and Chiron. So Mars hitting this square to the moon feels really interesting to me because there's a slew of ways that I can see this coming through. There can be tensions, frustrations, arguments because it's Mars and Mars is the god of war. But Mars is in Pisces. He's not really in god of war mode per se, but he could be heavily influenced by, again, other things that are about to come to light. There could be questioning or pushing in some way for an answer, for an idea, for a decision in some way. Some people can just be impressing, saying, I've made a decision and this is the actions that we are about to take. And considering we're building to the Sun Saturn conjunction, we're about 24 hours away from it. This can also be a part of that revealing energy where Mars hitting the square to the moon is like one step in a quote, quote, revealing process because there are going to be revelations. There's going to be certain things that come to light this week. I said that before. I'm saying it again now. There are mental things that kind of come into focus, either a mental focus or a role responsibility focus. And for some people, it can be a mix of both. But depending on what that focus is, when Mars hits this square to the moon, this feels like it's really shifting a gear in some way as to a direction. It can be challenging for certain people, but it does not have to be. The Mars energy can be reflective of his actions that he wants to take. Some people in their life can be reflective of actions that they want to take. And it's just that they're telling you about it. They're impressing something on you. And it can give you inspiration, but it can also ruffle feathers. It really kind of comes down to, again, if you are in control of your own emotions or not. Some people are still not back in control of their emotions. But no matter what, we still have the moon in Mercury sign, and Mercury is still in that conjunction to the North Node. So we are mentally focused in a multitude of ways as this energy continues. Getting into the evening time, Tuesday's not nearly as impactful as some of the other days this week. Between 5 and 7 p.m., so we get this now at 5:30, Venus, 22 degrees, 55 minutes, hits a sextile to the moon, 22:51. So you can see we're really close to it right here. Now, this is not heavy. Venus is only hosting Uranus. Like, we don't have a bunch of things in Venus's sign right now. Venus is in Mars's sign, but this is a sextile. So this could be something about, hey, I want you to try this, taste this, do this type of thing. I want you to give me an idea of what you think of the appearance of something. I want to offer my support and my appreciation. I've been doing all this work and we haven't been able to talk. I'm so happy to hear that you're doing well. I'm so happy to hear about you. But there can also be elements of something about that revelation. Why am I saying that? Look how close the Sun-Saturn conjunction is right here. Again, this goes exact on Wednesday. However, we're right on top of each other. So there can still be certain elements of revelation or things coming to light, things coming into focus, things getting discovered, revealed, announced. And they're meant to be something that people appreciate. And some people will hear about some things that feel really, really good. And Venus's sextile to the moon offers some level of support, even if we have some of the things coming to light that are ruffling other people's feathers. And again, there is a power dynamic shifting through this week. This energy feels supportive, it feels careful, it feels necessary. And for a lot of people, if you're very mentally focused on something, sometimes you just need someone to say, I'm rooting for you. I'm here for you. I understand it. I understand where you're coming from. Not everybody's going to understand, but there will be elements that speak like that. Between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m., so I got this now at 9:30, Chiron 2518 is going to hit its sextile to the moon. You can see that right here. So Chiron 2518, here's the moon 2514. Chiron again is the wounded healer, something about solutions, something about certain things from the past, certain things in our belief system. There can be wounds that are impressed or discovered. For some people, it's finally talking through some kind of wound or talking about where we're at in our healing process. Sometimes it can be a mix of both. You know, where something has been recently troubling, because remember, the moon is in Mercury sign, and Mercury is still in that conjunction to the North Node. He's still kind of hung over from his retrograde vibration. And the moon, again, it's in Mercury sign. So some of the recent energy, the recent ideas, that recent perspective can be a solution towards something. For some people, it's like the recent things that have come through. We need help with understanding a wound or how we can, again, process something and heal. And Chiron's energy in the sextile to the moon is kind of in that supportive, this is what I did in my healing process. This is what worked for me. This is the medicine that I took. This is the treatment that I did. This is the meditation. This is the practice. This is what I did to work through it. And it's like offering support through valid experiences. Some level of relating in that regard. Now, what's funny is after the moon goes through this sextile to Chiron, the moon goes void. We go into the 25th, the moon is void. It's going to be right after sunrise. So between 5:30, see the moon right here, 29:58, and 6:30, the moon is going to go into Cancer. The moon is going to go into its own sign and immediately start to enter aspects from what's going on in Aries, We have certain things that are coming to light once the moon goes into Cancer. And as soon as it comes to light, as soon as it gets announced, as soon as it comes into focus, as soon as the role is taken, the responsibility is had, it is immediately being impressed upon others, revealed to others, pushed upon others, making other people aware that this is how we're going to take care of something from here. And there is something that is really meant to come into focus. And for some people, whatever comes into light, whatever comes into focus, it is going to trigger certain types of emotional responses. Because again, the moon has gone into Cancer, but while the moon is in Cancer, we're going through that exact Saturn Sun conjunction. Some of the emotions are about how we're supporting a new role, a new responsibility. Yeah, he's the perfect fit. It's the greatest idea. I would love for him to be my boss. For other people, it's because something has been revealed about an authority figure, about a boss, about an elder, sometimes it's grandpa, is also now impressing something else onto someone else. It's impressing more than just what is coming to light. It's impacting more than one area of the sky. And it's really bringing certain things up to the surface. And some of us, whatever it's bringing to the surface, has an activity to it. We have an activity that we will be following with this because we want to put something into order. We want to get something taken care of. We want to get something impressed in some way. And it's not just to sit and be cozy and chill type of energy with the moon in Cancer because of that Sun Saturn conjunction. In fact, it is going to be inspirational, or it's going to be forceful in how it pushes us to go start to take care of something. But even in the care, it can still trigger new emotional responses that we didn't even know were going to come to the surface. But they find a way. They always do. The moon is now in Cancer. All right. And as soon as the moon goes into Cancer, it starts a couple things automatically between 8 and 10 a.m. It's got this now at 9:30. Neptune, 1 degree, 57 minutes, is going to hit this square to the moon. Some of us are going to be kind of confused. Some of us are just kind of be disconnected, can't really get our attention focused. It's like we're waiting on something all morning long. And it's like, do you know what's going on? Do you know? I think somebody forgot about their appointments. I don't know what's going on. I feel like something's about to happen because in a lot of ways it is. We have this Sun Saturn conjunction. Now, this actually went between 3:50 and 4:13 a.m. So right before the moon went into Cancer. But it feels like, again, because of what is coming to light, what is coming to focus, it's going to impress more than one area of the sky and more than one person. Because after the sun hits the square the sun, after Neptune goes through its square with the moon, we're going to go into a square between Saturn and the moon and the sun and the moon. Now, what's interesting is while this is going on, we're going to have a couple things all at the same time. So I want to do this to 1:30 because this is going to encapsulate all of it. Saturn is going to go through its square to the moon. You can kind of see that's building right here. It's the most exact between 12:30 and 2:30 p.m. Between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m., the sun will go through its square to the moon, but simultaneously, Pluto is in its sextile to the sun. So here's Pluto, 5 degrees, 6 minutes. Here's the sun, 5 degrees, 6 minutes. This Sun Saturn conjunction is still very, very active, and both of them are squaring the moon. Some of what comes to light, the reason it triggers emotions is because there's something that can come to light that we don't see eye to eye with. We don't believe, we don't support in some way. But yet, because something has come through, that push cannot be avoided. The direction, the announcement, the revealing, the role, the responsibility, this was going to happen no matter what, but there's just going to be some people that they don't like what's happening. Why do I say that? Pluto hitting the sextile to the sun, this does not actually have to be the difficult part. And some of us, with the Pluto aspect here, the mundane thing is going to be there's something going on behind the scenes, below the wall, below the surface, in the plumbing, something that you like in a place where you have to like crawl into to figure it out. You have to get under the hood of something to figure it out. Like it's going on behind the scenes, below the surface. And for some people, this will be a mundane thing. And I'm thinking that in the sense of like a classic car kind of sense, like it's something kind of older, but we're trying to make something new. I don't know why I went with classic car just then, but that's kind of what I started to like picture is like an older car. Like we're trying to figure out what's going on underneath the hood. It not just like being in a crawl space or a basement, but that could be part of it. But what I'm paying attention to is the moon is in this quincunx, this in conjunction to Pluto, while Pluto is in that sextile to the sun. So we can understand the sun. We can understand the decision. We can understand the confidence. We can understand this action, this empowerment, this part of the activity. But how this happened, we might not completely agree with because the Pluto moon part of this right here, this kind of quincunx energy. If the moon was in Leo during this time, I don't feel like it would be getting met with resistance. Now, some of us, it's going to be an extra kind of layer. We're going to have certain things come to light with the Saturn Sun conjunction hitting the square to the moon, not knowing that there's another element, there's something behind the scenes below the surface that we are not aware of. And might not be becoming aware of it for a while. Depends on kind of how the rest of this week is going to go. Saturn and Pluto, they will hit their actual sextile this week, but not right here. It's going to happen over the weekend. So for some people, you might be influenced to do something one way, not knowing that there's an additional influence somewhere in the midst, somewhere in the background that you can't see clearly. So some of us are going to be, again, discovering something, learning about something, revealing something to someone else, but we're only giving them a portion of the story, a version of the truth per se. Yeah, we've decided to go in this direction, but we're not saying that we are deciding to go in this direction because somebody's got blackmail on me. It's something like that. Like, and I'm saying the blackmail aspect because of the Pluto stuff. It's like something that you don't want to come to light, something that you don't want to be seen, but it can be seen. It can get discovered. Not all at once, but there can still be some elements of things that start to come to light. Oh, and a much later date beyond this. Something is meant to come to light this day. Something is meant to be adopted, come into focus, a role, a responsibility, announcements from the bosses, from company CEOs. There is meant to be that bigger vibration, judgment vibration based off of the sun, Saturn, and it's going to impact more than one person when this is going to happen. So this is going to happen in the collective, but many of you, you're going to be having stuff impact you as well as other people around you whenever it comes to the mundane aspects of your life. All right. In the evening time, we have something else that's going on that has nothing to do with the daytime. I feel like whatever that is in that lunchtime hour, that kind of encompasses the majority of the day. Between 9:30 and 11:30 p.m., so I got this now at 10:30, the moon, again, in Cancer, in its own home sign, will go through a trine with Mercury, and Mercury is still in that conjunction to the North Node. Yes, we are past the exactness, but they're within 1 degree of each other. And there is still a mental focus, that Mercury energy of stuff that we're going to focus on, stuff that we want to pay attention to. And this right here is water to water. Water flows, a certain type of creative energy, a certain type of emotionally supportive energy about what we're focused on, what we want, what we're being driven towards, what we believe, where our feelings are taking us, where our intuition is taking us. And Mercury hitting this trine to the moon is setting that stage for certain directional energies in this regard. It's not heavy. It's meant to be understanding. There can be kind of certain forms of emotional release, but I don't feel like this is going to be a heavy emotional release. But a lot of it can still carry over based off of whatever has come to light with that Sun Saturn conjunction. All right, we're going to keep this going. We're going to get into the 26th. The 26th is not super heavy on transits. We've only really got 3 main things going on. The first thing happens between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. So we got this now at 7:30. And this is where the moon is going to hit its conjunction to Jupiter. You can see that right there. Something with the doctor, the guru, the teacher. We haven't had a whole lot of Jupiter stuff this week. Now, I will say Jupiter is, I'm going to remind everybody, Jupiter's direct. He's been direct about 2 weeks now. So this is our first moon Jupiter conjunction since Jupiter has been direct. So we can have something new in regards to the medicines, in regards to treatments, a new plan in our wealth and our personal prosperity. a new plan and how we connect to the masses. That can be Moon, Jupiter also, but there can be some kind of luck element of something finally coming together in some way with the moon hitting this conjunction to Jupiter. For some people, if you've been waiting to get in with the doctor, like this is finally getting confirmation that yet we can get that appointment done, we can finally get something happening. So where we might have had some delays before, we might actually finally have some connectivity based off this moon Jupiter. And again, this is a lighter energy. This is something that's meant to be more helpful depending on how it's aspecting your own personal chart. When we get into the afternoon between 1 and 3 p.m., so I got this now at 2:30, Mars, 19 degrees, 3 minutes, hosting all of that stuff in Aries. I'm just going to remind everybody of that part where we just had our Sun Saturn conjunction, where Saturn is starting to enter its sextile to Pluto. So let's pay attention to everything that's in Mars's sign. Mars is going to go through a trine to the moon, water to water. Something is going to flow. This is the process from here. Floodgates are opening and allowing something to come out, allowing something to come through, allowing something to push down, that trickle down effect. Something got announced from the top, something coming from the top and whoosh, through the water flow, through the emails, all the liquidity, all the movement. There's a lot of movement and flow, something that is impacting more and more people. Now, this is emotional. This can be heavily intuitive for some people whenever Mars hits a trine to the moon, because it can inspire a certain type of motivation. There has just been something revealed. The Sun Saturn conjunction happened in Mars's sign, and that revelation could have waves of how it goes through and how it starts to go towards other people, how the announcements keep going through, whatever has come to light. This can have more of the energy around that. This is like understanding a recent disruption because it's Mars. But I mean, based off of what has been revealed, what has come to light, it's getting more of an understanding as to what came to focus. Doesn't have to be heavy, can trigger emotions, but it doesn't have to be heavy. When we get into the evening time between 5:30 and 5:48 p.m. is when this is going to go the most exact. Oh, they're at 5:30. Stop. Okay. Venus will hit her conjunction to Chiron. And I really like this. I wish we didn't have all this other stuff going on in Aries with this particular Venus Chiron, but I feel really hopeful for this because I feel like the appearance of something, the idea of something, the how we heal a wound, a plan of action, so to speak. I'm thinking of Mercury's conjunction to the North Node still, and how we can fix something. I'm looking at the Sun Saturn conjunction and what just recently got revealed, this different level of a power dynamic and all the solutions that are coming through. I really feel like whenever we get into that evening time Thursday, that Venus conjunction to Chiron is a helpful energy, but there's no big movement with this. So I feel like it's an inspiration. I feel like for some people, it's going to be internal. For others, I feel like you can discover something that offers certain kinds of solutions based off of how this week is going. But for other people, it can be the creation of a new wound. I'm not big on thinking that way. I feel like we've already had too much with the wounds based off of everything that went on during that Mercury retrograde. So I don't feel like this is associated with creating new wounds unless we're just talking about what has recently happened and how it's impacted you. But I feel like for a lot more people, we're not talking about brand new wounds or creating new wounds. It's more along the lines that wound is already there and we're working towards a solution. And there's a hope around solutions based off of Venus's conjunction to Chiron. Now, the thing is we're building to this conjunction all day long. It just happens to go exact around this 5:30 time span. So you do not have to wait until dinner time for that solution energy to come through. That solution energy could have come through earlier in the day. It can be a part of the inspiration as you go through the night. Some of you, it's just going to be like a mental energy of like you're going to deep dive into different things because you're going to figure it out. You want to go down the YouTube rabbit hole so that way you come out the other side feeling like you can build your own fence. Like build your own rocket ship, like this type of thing. Like, I bet if I tweak this, do this a certain way, I can make this work. Or I bet if I watch this YouTube video, or I'm going to go down this one, I heard about this creator, I'm just going to go down the rabbit hole of finding and I'm losing the word, a solution It's still a solution. That's not the word I lost. Industrious. Like I was like, I bet if I watch enough YouTube videos, I can figure out how to fix the situation. I can figure out how to fix something. I could take that oil pump out. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And it's like going down the rabbit hole of what it takes to actually create a solution. And this can even feed into parts of the weekend plans, but it doesn't have to. We're going to keep this going. We're going to get into the 27th. The moon is still going to be in Cancer. And right after midnight, what is the moon going to do? It goes through a square from that Chiron Venus conjunction. Now, this is going to be basically felt between midnight and 3 a.m. But we just had that Venus Chiron conjunction. The moon will come through and enter a square from it. Some of us, once we've seen enough YouTube videos, we figure out I've got an idea of what I need to do. And we need to tell our best friend. We need to tell our person. We need to tell somebody, I've got an idea. This is what we should give hope towards. This is what we should plan for. This is what we should try. That type of attempt. There could be something in regards to, again, things that are going on behind the scenes. But there can also be something else toward the solution. I was just like using that YouTube video aspect of like we go down the rabbit hole trying to figure out a way to be industrious, a way to feel more independent. But as soon as we have a plan of like, I think I could make this work. I think I could do this one. Like sometimes you can watch a YouTube video and be like, there's absolutely no way I'm not buying those tools. I'm not doing that thing. For some people, though, this kind of feels like you watch the right YouTube video. It tells you the right way to do something. And you're like, I think I could do that. I think I could make that work. And there's something about that energy. This right here happens the most exact right after midnight. So this still could play into late Thursday evening, based off human effect. But it feels like there's just something in the energy that kind of inspires how we fix something and how we impress it on other people. Between 5:30 and 7:30 a.m., got this now at 6:30. Uranus 2834 is going to go through its sextile to the moon. This does not have to be heavy energy, but anytime Uranus is involved, there can be something electronic. There can be something unexpected. There can be something that doesn't necessarily go to plan. There can be kind of an unexpected energy of like, oh, hey, I'm not going to make it. Sorry, something popped up. Had a quick little change of plans. And that could be a very big part of the weekend. For other people, it's not a change of plans, but you're just excited about what you're about to do. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of lunar transits to Friday. Some of us are just going to be waking up excited about something, or we're going to be waking up feeling like something is about to happen. So there's a restlessness, and I don't feel like a lot of people are sleeping in whenever it comes to Friday morning. I'm just going to be real about that. I'm going to bump this forward from between 8:30 and 9:30 a.m. The moon is going to go into Leo. And once the moon goes into Leo, it's going to be hopping, it's going to be popping, it's going to be moving, it's going to be vibrant, it's going to be loud, it's going to be bold, it's going to be boisterous. There's a lot going on as soon as the moon goes into Leo. Now we got to pay attention to what is going on. Leo is ruled by the sun. The sun is in Aries. It's in this place of its exaltation. He's feeling confident. He's feeling empowered. The sun is feeling very, very motivated. Over the course of this week, we've had 2 planetary conjunctions to the sun. Neptune made a conjunction and Saturn made a conjunction. For certain people, there was a certain manifestation and inspiration in this direction. For other people, there was a role, responsibility, or a certain type of plan of action that has come through. And for a lot of people, that plan of action does require some kind of an immediate work, an immediate energy, an immediate fueling per se. And once the sun goes into Leo, where he's going to be for most of the weekend, there's this level of fueling, confidence boosting. I want to be out. I want to be social. I want to be moving. I don't want to be stuck anymore because, again, so many of us, we've got stuck for a while and that's not where we want to be anymore. But so many of us, this fueling inspiration energy really starts to unfold and unlock parts of our heart chakra once the moon goes into Leo. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to pretend like there ain't going to be tests. We do have a moon Pluto opposition. We have a trine with Saturn during that moon Pluto opposition. For certain people, there will be little tests and little triggers in regards to, are you going to be facing certain things the same way as you used to? And some people won't face it the same way. You won't lean into that frustration. You're just going to want to do something that speaks differently to your own personal confidence. Once the moon goes into Leo, it's going to be hopping, it's going to be popping, it's going to be fun. The moon is now in Leo. Now, after the moon goes into Leo, between 11:30 and 1:30 p.m. Sorry, got that lunchtime hour. Neptune, 2 degrees, 2 minutes, will go through a trine to the moon, 1 degree, 54. For some people, this is nostalgic. Again, for some people, this is kind of a blast from the past. For some people, there is an inspiration. For some people, it's confusion. For some people, it's just wanting to be kind of lost in the sauce or being in a creative energy, but it's like a fueling creative energy. So it's not like, I want to sit here and draw. It's more along the lines of, hey, you want to go to the garden section and like plan an entire garden remodel in one afternoon? Not possible, by the way. But hey, let's go look at all of the inspiration of all of the things that we suddenly want to do, but I promise you, we do not all have the energy for. Some people will take on the weekend project. I want to be clear about that. Other people will not. It is what it is. But Neptune's trine to the sun. It's got an inspirational energy. It's got a flow to it. It's a fueling around a belief. It's an empowerment energy. And it actually feels pretty good. I like Neptune in Aries a lot better than I like Neptune in Pisces. I'm just going to be honest about that. All right. As we continue into the evening time, we have the next two things happening simultaneously. So I got this now at 5:30, between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here's Saturn, 5 degrees, 2 minutes, and it will go through a trine to the moon. Here's Pluto, 5 degrees, 8 minutes, hitting an opposition to the moon. If we're going to have a trigger type of frustration energy, it's most likely to come through Friday evening. If it's going to be triggering, if it's going to be frustrating, but not everybody is dealing with triggering and frustrating. And for some people, whatever comes through once the moon goes into Leo, it's again how we push something forward and how we change how we've dealt with power dynamics or power struggles in the past. Not going to have anything to do with the past. It's going to be the entire power dynamic of what we're doing from here, how we're moving from here. Because again, we do have this Pluto Saturn sextile that is developing. This is actually going to go exact over the weekend, but you can see how close we are to it here. And there can be some things that come through that are triggering, that bring an insecurity, that bring a frustration, that triggers a fear. For other people, it is going to trigger a new part of the power dynamic. It is going to shift something in how certain responsibilities have been held. Some people, you won't even realize this shift has such a large impact. You'll just feel something that is starting to pull in a certain direction. But there's not going to be one particular event that triggers any one particular thing. It's just the mood, it's just the tone. There's again something that's coming to light that is meant to shift something in our confidence. But for some people, the shift in your confidence can trigger insecurities in other people, or vice versa. You're going to see somebody that is just being controlled by fear, and it's going to be like, I can't be around someone that's always expecting the worst out of life. Can't you be positive about anything? And we can still have that type of frustration, that type of energy, that type of trigger in regards to something. There can be, again, a mood that kind of takes shape over the entire weekend. And for some people, it is going to be a forceful, more like accomplishing energy of the power dynamic. And that really just kind of comes down to your own personal motivation. With the moon being in Leo, I feel like this is going to have a very confident, boastful, empowered, let's get it done. You're damn right, I'm going to redo the entire yard in one weekend. It's going to be like HGTV back here. It's really not. But that's how motivated, that's how empowered people are feeling based off of the mood, the tone, the idea, and the opinions of how we progress from here. I feel like it's going to be fun for a lot of people, but I also feel like there's going to be some people who be like, I can see how this could have rubbed some people the wrong way. And there's going to be some people that they do get rubbed the wrong way. It is what it is. Okay. Between 9:30 and 11:30 p.m., I got it now at 9:30, as you can see right here. The sun, 7 degrees, 25 minutes, is going to hit its trine to the moon. Now, remember, the moon is in the sun sign. The sun is in its exaltation. It's super motivated. It wants to get things accomplished. We want to get some things done. We want to start growing. We want to start moving. We want to start pushing something ahead and pushing something forward. And there is something about a new dynamic, a new direction that impacts, again, our confidence, our ego. It's a boastful energy. It's meant to be appreciative. Some of us, we're going to be like two vibrations next to each other going, you got a raise, I got a promotion. Heck yeah, for both of us. Yeah. And it'd be that kind of stuff. Be like, you doing, I'm doing, we're all getting things done. And again, we're aware of a power dynamic shifting, and we feel like we're stepping into something big. We just don't know how big it's going to be. But we're feeling boastful, we're feeling confident, we're feeling a certain way, and we want to be able to celebrate. And this feels boastful. This feels like we can accomplish some things, like we're celebrating an accomplishment, like we're doing certain things to boost our confidence and boost our ego. It's going to feel really nice. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy next weekend. There can be some triggers and some insecurities. I'm not going to pretend like there ain't, but I think you're going to like it. I really do. Now, when we get into the 28th, what's going to be tricky is the moon is in Leo all day long, but there's no lunar transits. It's just the moon in Leo. And we're just enjoying ourselves. And we're just doing these things to be boastful and be confident. We're just doing our normal thing, and we're kind of chilling. But we can also feel there's something in the energy. We can also feel something going on. Now, what happens next is the most exact in the afternoon. And it's not a lunar transit. It is the outer planet transit of Pluto and Saturn. Now, here's the deal. I feel like if we were going to have a mundane effect to this, you had it Friday evening when the moon hit that opposition to Pluto and that trine from Saturn. And we feel certain shifts in the power dynamics. We're seeing that level of responsibility shift. But when it comes to Saturday, this is when we actually get the sextile between Pluto and Saturn. And this is the first time these two planets have aspected each other since 2020. I don't know if you guys remember 2020, but there are certain moods whenever it comes to people in positions of power and authority figures and who's in charge of what that can be tied to Pluto and Saturn when they're doing some things. And this is a sextile. Now, I do feel like certain power shifts in the collective are going to be real next weekend. There are going to be certain things that kind of come through that like inflate egos in certain ways. And again, there's some parts of those inflated egos that they're not seeing everything clearly. We're not fully, involved or invoked in all of the emotions that are going to kind of come through. But there's an interesting tone in the vibration. And I feel like a lot of us are going to just feel parts of next weekend with Pluto hitting that sextile to Saturn, that it is either very motivating, it is very triggering of insecurity. We're looking at all of the things that need to be taken care of, all of the things that we want to have control over, all of the things that we want to put into place, survivalist type of instincts, all of our fears and the responsibility that we take to overcome our fears, how we put certain things behind us because Pluto is in the higher authority, pushing an idea onto Saturn, but Saturn is moving away from Pluto. And that's where I'm like, it's like, I'm tired of these past weights holding so much control over me. Now I'm taking fear by the horns. It's not really a bull, but it's just like by the horns, and I'm going to drive this down, drive this forward. We're going to bulldogger through it. If you don't know what a bulldogger is, look it up. But it's like driving the horns down and pushing something into place, wrestling something down, wrestling something into our control. And we can just feel it in our confidence, in the collect. We can feel the push in this vibration of this is how we take care of something from here. There is no big lunar transits that are activating this. This is a mood shift type of change. This is a mental shift type of change. There can be insecurities. It really kind of depends on if you are in control of your emotions or if you are in control of your situation. If you are not somebody that is in control of certain situations, then there's something else that's going on that is solidifying a dynamic shift sometime throughout the week. It just happens to be that this transit is the most exact Saturday afternoon. Pluto's sextile to Saturn. And this is the only transit to Saturday. It lasts for a few hours, 2:23 p.m. to 5:36 p.m. That is the most exact. It's going to be exact for just about 3 hours, a little bit over 3 hours, almost 3.5. But we're building to it all through the second half of the week. We will still be in it on Sunday, but I feel like because we don't have a bunch of other lunar transits to kind of click some things into place, this feels like downloads. This feels like internal compass energy. This feels like a gear shift, a motivation shift. And again, there's something about what needs to come through these last few days of March that really show us where our movement and activity are going to be in April. And I really feel like for a lot of people, this is like the releasing of a gate. If you've been feeling held back by something, you are not going to feel it much longer. So there's that. Now we're pretty well done with Saturday. I don't want to talk about it anymore. We're just know what we know and be aware of that. But we're going to get in the 29th. We're going to get into Sunday. And the moon is still going to be in Leo for the majority of the day. When we get into the early morning hours between 5:30 and 7:30 p.m., so I got this now at 6:30, Chiron 2533 is going to hit this trine to the moon. There's a boostfulness, there's a boastfulness, there's something kind of going through. There is still that activity around our confidence and around our ego. There's something that we're feeling very motivated towards. There can be something about past wounds. I'm not stuck on wounds right now. I feel like this is more solution oriented in a lot of ways. And it's like, because we did this in the past, maybe we can make it work again. Chiron hitting the trine to the moon. Sometimes you wake up and you remember certain things from the past, but you're like, I don't even care anymore. They don't even bother me the same way. We do still have the Saturn Pluto energy that's going on, so I don't want to dismiss part of that. And we can have the human effect of certain things like towards the solution being a part of our big power dynamic shift, but we don't necessarily do the solutions on Saturday. It's like something kind of comes through Sunday morning, and you're waking up going, I bet if we do this, we can fix it. I bet if we tried this, it would go a different way. And there can be certain levels of inspiration, so to speak. Now, when we get into the afternoon, where the next two transits are going to happen simultaneously, I don't feel like this is internal. I feel like this is external. And I do feel like there's going to be some things that kind of come through that really set the mental tone for the next week. But I need to describe this first before that mental tone is going to make a lot of sense. So between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, Uranus 2839 is going to hit a square to the moon. You can see that here. Here's Uranus 28, here's the moon 28, but simultaneously, Venus, the ruler of Taurus, hosting said Uranus, Venus is going to also trine the moon. You can kind of see we're basically exact right here. Venus is 2850, here's the moon 2851 of Leo. We're looking at this fire to fire, Venus in Aries, the moon in Leo, but also we have that square from Uranus. So it's like something coming through unexpectedly that leads to an additional thing being understood, being pushed forward, being brought to the light, being brought to the focus, being brought into a motivation. Because of how much fire energy is here, there is something about the motivation. What's interesting, though, is this is kind of the last transit for the day. Venus again with the trine, Uranus in the square. Both Venus and Uranus are in the higher authority. And it really does feel like something comes through unexpectedly, an unexpected call, unexpected message, an unexpected shift that is going to shift our mental energy. Part of it is a desire. Part of it has to do with passion. Part of it has to do with taste, something around food for some people. It can be like going out to brunch with one friend and unexpectedly running into another one. But once you meet with that person and you start talking to that groups of people, it's like it makes additional connections that had you not done this one thing, all of this could not have happened. This one like planned little exciting, let's have brunch, let's go hang out. But it goes from like 4 or 5 people to like a group of 20 very, very unexpectedly, because we're having so much stuff that's kind of like a boost. It's like once these new parts of the energy, this other area we're not anticipating, kind of captures our attention, it quite literally captures our attention. And this is why I'm saying this. It's at 12:30 right here. Bump it 2 hours, 2, 3 hours later, between 2:30 and 3:30, the moon is going to go from Leo into Virgo, into Mercury sign. And we are just now finally 3 degrees away, more than 3 degrees away from Mercury towards the North Node. This is the other side of the mercurial energy. Mercury in Gemini versus Mercury in Virgo, two very different scatterbrained energies, two very different ends of the spectrum, yet still very fueled by information. And there's something that it feels like it can kind of come through and shift awareness throughout the weekend. And we still have this Pluto Saturn thing going on, that it then encapsulates our mental focus. Now, the thing is, the moon going into Virgo, I would normally just do like a quick little get up around my own face and then just kind of leave it alone. But what's interesting is once the moon goes into Virgo, the moon's not doing anything else. So we're just in this mental energy, this informational energy, this conversational energy once the moon goes into Virgo. But we've had so many things that have taken place throughout the week. This difference in the power dynamic, this difference in our focus, this difference in how we take control over areas of our lives, this difference in our own motivation, this difference in our path, this difference in our plan. And then it's like the moon goes into Virgo, and all of the fueled physical energy has to be put into words. It has to be put into documentation. It has to be put into order. It needs to be analyzed. It needs to be put into perspective. It needs to be written out. It needs to be conversated about. There's a bigger part of the plan that requires a specific kind of mental focus. And it starts Sunday afternoon once the moon goes into Virgo. But then there's no other additional things to Sunday. It's just the moon in Virgo. So it's just this heavily mental energy, but this mental energy can be inspired. This mental energy could be focused on the healing process. It could be focused on this new path of mental unwinding, but it could also be looking for the alternative solutions to whatever this mental focus has been. It's critical, it's analytical, but it's also very, very fueled by a belief, fueled by an inspiration, fueled by a manifestation. And sometimes it just takes that one little chance encounter at brunch for somebody to say something that suddenly makes you connect a dot that you could not see clearly before. I don't know why I couldn't see that clearly. I don't know why I couldn't figure that out. I don't know why I never thought of that. But there's something about this energy that speaks to a very big shift in informational mental focus. And again, some of the things that come to light will quickly hit the news. I mean this in the collective sense. Certain things that come to light, that come into focus, and they're going to hit the news, and it's going to be one round of information after another, after another, after another. It's one form of analysis upon analysis upon analysis. It's one part of critiquing on top of frustration, on top of argumentiveness, on top of a course plan of action. But not everybody is going to be implementing the plan over this week. It's more around the discovery. And once certain things are discovered, once certain things come into light, once certain things come into focus, they cannot be ignored. There's some of us that it's going to be an accomplishment in regards to positive things. I can get this done. I can start this new job. I am starting this new job. It's going to go great. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, XYZ. Yeah. And we need part of the weekend to just, yeah. But then there's the other part that carries us into the next week, that next Monday, Tuesday, that feels like an analysis of details. And for some people, once that moon goes into Virgo, it's going to unleash the next round of energy, the next round of mental focus that ties back to the eclipse that happened at the beginning of March. March 3rd, by the way, that's whenever the Virgo eclipse was. But now in a much clearer dynamic. There's a lot of downloads by the end of the week. Again, we can feel the environment shifting. We can feel the chessboard turning underneath us. We will feel the whole collective shifting. We're going to feel, for some people, infuriated. For other people, triggered. Insecurities, drive, motivation, direction, powerful dynamics. And I am telling you, as we get into the weekend, the entire collective will have a difference inside of them with where they're focusing from there. And this energy encapsulates our drive, our desires, and our ambitions going into April. It shifts it. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to be a very busy vibration, a very, very busy energy. And some of us are not going to be sitting still for a while once this week really shows us everything. And some of those, we need it because we're tired of feeling stuck. So much of the energy throughout March, we didn't feel like we could get anything accomplished. It didn't matter how many times you made a phone call. It didn't matter how many times you tried to make the meeting happen. It didn't matter how many times you tried to sit there and read it and break it down and blah, 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 whatever you were trying to do. We couldn't get anywhere because, again, so much of that energy was very honed in on not being able to be productive. This week will be our first week of being able to do something or have something productive since February. Everything else has kind of felt like a setback, but we're kind of done with setbacks. Now it's motivation. Now there's something pushing forward. Now we start off on something much more empowering. And whatever comes to light this week is really going to fuel so much of our dynamic direction throughout the month of April. So again, if you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, babies, this is the week you've been waiting on. All right. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Subscribe.